Welcome to this episode of Star Wars Declassified, where we look into different facts and stories revolving around the Star Wars canon universe and lore. In today's Declassified, we'll be looking at the special forces of each faction from all three eras, covering the Galactic Republic, Separatist Alliance, Rebel Alliance, Galactic Empire, New Republic, First Order, and the Resistance. Starting out with the Galactic Republic, out of all 7 factions, it's ranked second in terms of spec forces. It made use of 4 different elite units that were part of the Republic's Special Forces branch, and each varied with different roles and responsibilities. The first were Clone Commandos, also known as Republic Commandos, which were super soldiers noted for their training and elite status in the Clone Army. They were best known for their expertise in infiltration behind enemy lines, and then ultimately annihilating the enemy. Known squads include Delta Squad, Foxtrot Group, and Clone Force 99, which were all composed of Clone Commandos. Advanced Recon Commandos, best known as ARC Troopers, was an elite clone trooper status that was bestowed on clones who served with distinction on the battlefield. ARC Troopers were best known to serve in positions of command in the Grand Army, as well were also sent out on challenging assignments that were less suitable for standard clones. Biker Advanced Recon Commandos, also referred to as BARC Troopers, were specialized clone troopers trained to ride BARC speeders across difficult terrain or dangerous battlegrounds. They were equipped with a lindered helmet that directed their view directly forwards, allowing them to better concentrate on their route during battle. Advanced Recon Forces Troopers, referred to as either ARF Troopers or as AT-RT Drivers. They wore lighter armor for specialized stealth and speed missions and often rode all-terrain recon transports into battle. Amongst the clone ranks, they were the most intelligent and better trained in survival skills. The Separatist Alliance finds itself in 6th place on the SpecForce ranking, having featured only 1 elite unit in its special forces, which is a major far cry compared to Legends where they had several more. However, in canon, the Separatists instead chose to focus more of their efforts in creating various models of droids to serve a range of different purposes. But they were all made for the standard infantry and not part of the Special Forces branch. The BX series droid commandos, also known as commando droids, were the sole advanced battle droids of the Separatist spec forces. Used mostly for infiltration missions, BX commandos were programmed with improved combat tactics and battlefield awareness. They were also equipped with glowing white photoreceptors and carried a vibro sword. The Rebel Alliance comes in 3rd place in the Spec Force ranking, having invested a good portion of resources to maintain the Alliance Special Forces, which consisted of 4 different elite units. The first and most well-known of the Rebel Special Forces are the Rebel Pathfinders, whom were the top ranks of the Alliance's ground troops and elite Spec Force commandos that tackled missions vital to high command. Pathfinders were trained in recon, infiltration, sabotage, and tactics for hit-and-run raids. They were distinguished by 2 types of helmets that they wore, with the hard variant being used for more ground assault missions while the lighter was prioritized for recon. Rebel Marines were an elite class of soldiers in the Rebel Alliance. More skilled and versatile and a step above normal Rebel troopers, Rebel Marines were deployed for dangerous assault missions on Imperial bases, and were often used as support for Pathfinders and Commandos in missions like the Battle of Scarif. They usually wore camouflage to blend in their environments and were known for their unique Space Marine helmets. Rebel Infiltrators were masters of stealth, trained to penetrate enemy lines and facilities to sow fear and confusion, conduct sabotage in critical missions, and distract officers to disrupt command and control operations. Rebel Infiltrators were experts in the field of stealth operations, hand-to-hand combat, and silenced weapons. Rebel Commandos were an elite variant of Rebel Troopers and wore light caps of goggles. They were the basic unit that composed most of the specialized subclasses in the Alliance Special Forces, such as Wilderness Fighters, Heavy Weapon Specialists, amongst a few others. The Galactic Empire sees itself in 1st place in the Spec Force ranking amongst all the era factions, featuring 7 different elite units classified as Imperial Special Forces. The Empire not only improved upon the Republic in this area, but invested the most in making sure it had the most diverse special forces in the galaxy. Imperial Special Forces TIE Commandos were individuals equally skilled in both ground combat and as starfighter pilots. They were tasked in infiltration, sabotage, and termination of terrorist groups. Red visors and elements on their TIE pilot uniform distinguished them from the standard TIE pilots, along of course their unit symbol on their helmet and arms. The famous Inferno Squad, led by Iden Versio, was composed by 4 Special Forces TIE Commando members, each with different specialties in the fields of infiltration, intelligence, and weapon expertise. Elite TIE pilots were also a common sight within the Special Forces of the Imperial Navy. They were often deployed on high-priority missions and often had red or yellow stripes going down on the middle of their helmets and sides, along with white stripes below their eyes. Known squads such as Special 1 and Squadron 5, also known as Shadow Wing, were composed of elite TIE pilots. Storm Commandos were the special forces of the Galactic Empire's Stormtrooper Corps, and were trained to deal with extreme combat situations. In addition to instigating uprisings on enemy systems or subduing insurrections, they also served as second-wave attackers on the battlefield, tasked with holding down territory won by the first wave. Special Commando Advanced Recon Troopers, also known as SCAR Troopers, were elite stormtroopers within the Imperial Special Forces. They operated primarily in anti-terrorist missions and were deployed in small squads led by a sergeant, with each member of a unit specializing in different advanced military tactics. But with that said, they were also very capable of undergoing solo missions if needed. One such squad composed of SCAR Troopers was Task Force 99, led by Sergeant Creel. COMMFORCE was the elite military branch of the Empire's Commission for the Preservation of the New Order, which was the Imperial bureaucracy's largest agency. It consisted of 2 secondary subdivisions in Assault and Observation. The Assault subdivision were dispatched on special missions, while the Observation subdivision spied on and within Imperial military starships and units, serving essentially as loyalty spies. Imperial Army Special Missions Troopers were the deadly special forces of the Imperial Army that were deployed to handle high-risk Black Ops missions. They were trained as a variety of classes, including sniper teams, infiltrators, saboteurs, commandos, assassins, and slicers. They were known to operate in the dark and behind enemy lines, and were fully aware that they were disposable and unimportant assets. Death Troopers were the elite Special Forces ground troopers designed for stealth, espionage, and lethality. While mostly operating under Imperial intelligence where they served as protective details and bodyguards, they as well took on roles as Special Assignment Commandos. Death Troopers were trained in unarmed combat, heavy weapons, demolitions, and marksmanship. They were experts at covering their tracks, leaving little to no evidence of their missions. Purge Troopers were trained as expendable death squads within the Special Forces that operated under the Imperial Inquisitors. Originally the final production line of clone troopers, Purge Troopers soon saw normal humans join the ranks, and undergo intensive training in order to go head-to-head with surviving Jedi Padawans. Donning helmets similar to those of the clone paratroopers, Purge Troopers were specially trained to utilize electrostaffs when in combat against Jedi. The First Order maintained the First Order Special Forces, which reported directly to the upper ranks of the First Order military hierarchy. Due to containing far less spec units than that of the Empire, the First Order comes in 5th place in the ranking with only 2 elite units found within its Special Forces. Special Forces pilots were elite First Order pilots that served in the First Order Special Forces branch. They were black pilot armor with 2 red vertical stripes on their helmets, which themselves had multiple upgrades from the standard versions, including advanced sensor and targeting suites for both ground and space combat. Special Forces pilots were for the most part granted missions that normal pilots were often seen less likely to succeed in. First Order Elite Stormtroopers were the main fighting ground units within the First Order Special Forces. Donning black armor with a red stripe over their chest, First Order Elite Stormtroopers were often experienced scouts that deployed on high-risk missions, where they utilized their elite First Order speeder bikes to scope out enemy locations. The New Republic was the successor government that arose from the Rebel Alliance's victory over the Galactic Empire, but unlike the Rebels, it did not invest as much in its special forces, which actually saw a major decline in its Spec Force units. As a result, the New Republic only contained 2 elite units within its special forces and is ranked 4th in the ranking. New Republic SpecForces were elite soldiers that specialized in environments or situations that were beyond the capacity of normal infantry. Best compared to the Rebel Commandos, the New Republic SpecForces were better trained and had better equipment, though tended to possess less experience. One well-known squad composed of New Republic SpecForces was John Barrow's unit. New Republic Special Forces Commandos. Former Imperial Special Forces TIE Commandos Iden Versio and Del Meeko defected to the New Republic and recreated Inferno Squad within the New Republic ranks. Joining them was the Duros Shriv Surgath, who was the main New Republic lead within the squad. Despite no longer fighting for the Empire, the New Republic Inferno Squad still carried out much of the same commando duties. Also, instead of operating TIE fighters, the New Republic Inferno Squad conducted their missions in X-Wing fighters instead. Last but not least is the Resistance, which, out of all the 7 factions present, had the least amount of resources, and was unable to invest anything into its own special forces. Despite this, it did however adopt the New Republic's Inferno Squad, and maintain it during the War of the First Order. Containing only one SpecForce unit, it finds itself last place in the rankings. The remains of the New Republic Inferno Squad was later adopted into the Resistance, but now only contained 2 members in Shriv Surgath and Iden and Del's daughter, Zay Versio. With the famous Inferno Squad now weakened and containing no former Imperial Special Forces TIE Commandos, the Resistance Inferno Squad instead focused more so on gaining intelligence rather than fighting in high-risk missions unlike its predecessors. In terms of final ranking of all special forces for all 7 factions, the Galactic Empire reigns on top in first place. It not only prioritized and invested the most amount of resources in its special forces, but also had the most diverse range of units. In second place, the Galactic Republic, which while tied with the same number of elite units as the Rebel Alliance, the Republic simply wins out on unit superiority alone, as the Republic Special Forces each had far better training and equipment than any of those seen in the Alliance. The New Republic then sits in 4th place, which is also tied with the First Order. However, the New Republic here wins out on skill level alone thanks to the Inferno Squad. At the very bottom of the ranking are the Separatists and the Resistance, which easily sees the Seppies win out due to having one strong and dependable elite unit, despite not investing in creating more droid special forces. The Resistance remain last place due to not creating their own specialized special forces, and the Inferno Squad they do have is the weakest elite unit out of all the factions present. And that'll do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and share it, along with subscribing to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars related content. And if you want to support the channel, do check out our Patreon page. Or if you want to continue the conversation, join us on the official Silo Discord server. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.